If anyone wants to make comments tonight, you need to sign up and back. The purpose, we'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. It's a good turnout. The purpose of this meeting is to get public comment on the proposed consolidation of the precincts. It's not going to be to have a debate with the board. What we want to do is get some feedback. In that process, what we're going to do is let Tess Eubanks, who's the election supervisor, make the presentation that she made to the Board of Commissioners, which basically outlines what the proposal was and those things that we took into consideration in trying to come up with the proposal. It is fairly brief, and she will try to respond to questions that relate to those things that are in her PowerPoint. We'd like everyone to please try to go by the rules of conduct, which basically says keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and try not to have any debate between people that are for and against it, either with the board or in the audience. And I'll go ahead and let Tess go ahead and make her presentation.
Hi everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Tess Eubanks. I'm your election supervisor. I just want to start by thanking all of you for being here tonight and looking forward to making this presentation to you. Due to many additional laws that have been put in place over the last few years on elections, our election cycle is a lot longer these days. The election cycle begins 45 days before an election. At that time, the paper ballots become available for our military, our overseas, and our local by-mail voters. The cycle continues as we conduct 21 days of advance voting. This is your in-person voting that happens in Carnesville at the elections office, including one Saturday of voting if there's a federal candidate on the ballot. These types of voting ends the Friday before Election Day, and this brings us to the last day to vote, which is actually that Tuesday, known as the Election Day. The following Friday is the last day that I can accept ballots from our UOCAVA voters, which are our military and overseas voters. And at that time, I certify the election on that Friday. On the following Monday, I delivered the results to the Georgia State Patrol Office in Toccoa, and that is the end of your election cycle. The presentation that I made to the Board of Commissioners, everybody can see this. Linda, will you cut off those first two switches? This is the Georgia Election Code that charges the Board of Elections and Registrations to make any changes to the precincts as they exist, where they can consolidate or separate the precincts as needed. Some of the reasons why the Board of Elections decided to try to consolidate is the reduction in poll worker payroll, less printed material needed, which is your paper ballots, less damage to the voting equipment, because this would allow only 4 locations that the voting equipment has to go to instead of the 13 locations that it goes to at this point, which is all over the county. You have quicker results on election night for the public, more efficient quality control. With only 4 precincts to manage, it would be a lot easier to make sure everything is done perfectly. More efficient troubleshooting on election day, more efficient use of our equipment, and a steady increase in early voting, which would mean less need on election day. Just some history about the counties around us that are in the state of Georgia that have consolidated. As you can see, Stevens County just did their consolidation. They will be holding their first election in November. They went from 8 to 1. Raven County did it over 4 years ago. They went from 9 to 1. Dawson County 8 to 3, Evans County 10 to 1, Lowndes County 37 to 12, and they're waiting now for the Department of Justice approval to go down to 9. Muskogee County, which went from 48 to 27, Paulding County 28 to 14, Habersham County 14 to 2, that's a recent change. Webster County went from 3 to 1, Butts County went from 10 to 5, Brantley County went from 13 to 3, and Morgan County went from 11 to 5. Now that's not all the counties in the state of Georgia that have consolidated. I just tried to give a wide range of voting count, registered voters by count, so that you could see what each county did as opposed to how many voters they had. Savings varied in each of these counties, anywhere from 30 to 50% on a general election, and up to 75% on a runoff, because you have less of a turnout for a runoff, but you still have the same expense for a runoff. I also tried to get you some surrounding county, just in our area, and what was going on with them. The ones that are highlighted in red are at some point of consolidation. Either they're in the talks, the Board of Elections is trying to decide what to consolidate to, or they're actually waiting on approval from the Departments of Justice to finish their consolidation. As you can see, the majority of the counties surrounding you have already consolidated or are in the process of consolidation, with exception to Banks and Franklin County. A labor comparison, which is where you're going to see your biggest savings if you consolidate. Right now we have 13 precincts. As required by law, you have to have 1 manager, 2 assistant managers, and at least 1 clerk. In Franklin County, we use 2 clerks because by law, 3 people have to be in that precinct at all times. So if one of those people have to get up and go to the restroom, you're out of compliance. I know that's a silly rule, but that's the way it works. So we always have at least 4 people in each precinct. So that's what I based our cost on. Right now, precincts at 13, you're going to be spending around $8,900. If we consolidate down to 4, which would knock us down to 4 managers, 8 assistants, 8 clerks, which we would use more as needed depending on the election, your precinct pay and your LNA, oh, by the way, LNA is logic and accuracy, and that's where I do all the testing on the machines there in the elections office, and I use labor to help me move the machines around. You're going to go from almost $8,900 down to $2,740. That's a big difference. That's a big savings. Paper ballot, which is where you're going to see some of your other savings. These are your paper ballots that are sent out to your cover voters and your by-mail voters. They're also used on election day for a provisional vote. That's if somebody comes in, we can't find them on the rolls, they're swearing that they're a registered voter. We don't send them away. We allow them to do a paper ballot that will give our office 3 days to do the investigation to find out if there was some issue with their registration. The top part is a comparison from the 2012 presidential election, what the ballots were that I ordered. The bottom part is an estimated of what we would go to if we went to the 4 precincts. You can see a little savings there, not a big savings, but it is a savings. Proposed changes to precincts, and the names are to be determined. The Board of Elections decided on these 4 district precincts. It's based upon the Board of Commissioners district lines. This gives us an equal amount of the voting age population with minorities in each district. District 1 would include Welborn, Red Hill, Flintsville, Strange, Ashland, and a part of Gunnels. District 2 would be Gumlog and the majority of Livonia. District 3 would be Carnesville, Cannon, Dooley, and a small part of Livonia. And District 4 would be Royston, Middle River, and a small part of Gunnels. The names of these precincts, if you're in one of these precincts, as you can see, say you were in Welborn, you would go to the District 1. That's what this stands for. Voter count in the proposed precincts. Now this count changes on a day-to-day basis because you have people that transfer out, you have people that transfer in, you have new registered voters, you have deceased voters. So the count will change on a daily basis. As of the time that we did this PowerPoint, District 1 had 2931 active voters. District 2 had 2919, District 3 would have 3117, and District 4 would have 2826. As you can see, they're all a pretty equal amount. The proposed changes for the precinct locations would be as follows. District 1 is Allen's United Methodist Church on Highway 106. District 2 would be Livonia Community Center. District 3 would be the Carnesville Fire Department, and District 4 is still to be determined. This is the map as it looks. These are the county commissioner district lines, and the arrows point to possible locations of the precincts and where they'll be located. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. What we'd like to do now is open it up for comments.
Could
Sir?
the committee or whatever you call yourself, introduce yourself and where you're from, please?
Okay.
I'm Betty Jo Bailey, and I'm from Franklin Springs, Georgia.
Sherry McDonald from Carnesville.
I'm Chip Vandiver from Livonia.
Larry Spencer from Carnesville, Flexville District.
Jason Mackinson from Livonia.
Comments? Yes, sir.
Is this for the people who signed in?
Yeah.
Okay.
You might want to,
Unless you want to go through the list there of how you want to do that, or?
Well, I mean, we can start at the beginning if you want to. Is William J. Hilly? Mr. Hilly?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm William J. Hill, 4210 William Bridge Road, Tacoma, Georgia, Flensville District. I worked in the polling since the 90s. Started out as a clerk, went to assistant clerk, manager, manager. It is my understanding that you plan to take 6 precincts and combine them into one for a total savings of $6,000. Is that right?
approximately, yes.
Approximately. My concern is that there are 2,931 voters in the 6th precinct. If each one had to buy an extra gallon of gas to get to Red Hill precinct and back home again, gas being $3.50 per gallon, I understand that all voters will not vote, but there's 2,931 voters in that district. The total cost will be $10,258. It will be a cost to the taxpayer. It's not gonna be no savings. It's gonna cost them to get there to vote if they all vote. And which I think everybody wants voters to vote. And by doing this, I've heard people say that they're not gonna vote. It's just too far to travel. If they're gonna travel from there to Red Hill, why not just drive to Carnesville and combine it all and make everybody vote at one precinct? Or even leave it alone like it is. So, in my opinion, it would be more economical for the people to vote where they're voting now. But I can also see, instead of making a few people mad, make everybody mad. And just make one voting precinct here in Carnival, in the center of the county. And everybody can get the federal extra, except the people in Carnival, they looked out. But that's just my opinion on it, and I would like for y'all to take that into consideration.
All right, thank you very much. Thank y'all. We will. Gary Fields?
Ladies and gentlemen of the election board, thank you for allowing me to speak. I live at 3162 Dovetown Road, Royston, Georgia. Did you get my name? Can repeat.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I believe we should keep the polling places as convenient and close as possible. I voted Royston, and I vote to keep Royston open. I have always been treated very, very nice at the polling places at Royston. Very first-class person, and I appreciate the work they do. Another thing I'd like to say, I believe that every person in Franklin County, regardless of what the election is, will turn out and vote. If we could have 8,000 to 10,000 people voting in every election, the politicians would get our attention. I believe Franklin County could get more. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Crawford?
I want to thank you for your hard work. I can see there's been a lot of thought gone into it. My recommendation was just to have 5, and that's Royston, Franklin Springs, Cannon, Livonia, and Carnesville. And the reason, well, let me give you some other things. The voter number in Royston far exceeds Franklin Springs, and I hadn't got anything against Franklin Springs. I lived there many years, but we have a lot of people in Royston that live in public housing and they don't even have cars. They have no way to get to Franklin Springs. So I think it's a great inconvenience for them and the older people in Royston too. Now parking was mentioned in the paper as a problem, but I can assure you, parking will be no problem in Royston. Once we get our library finished, the city hall renovated, we will be fine for parking. Thank you.
Thank you. William Williams. I said,
Just want to let you know.
I did. I'm sorry.
I'm Lady Williams, and I live in Gullis District, which is Bow Spring community. And I live a quarter-mile from the church where the elections were held. And my husband and I, we had elections for several years, and there's several people that come from a distance to even vote in our district. And it would be a great concern for them to have to drive. We assume we would be going to Allen, which it would be from our house like 36 miles round trip versus 1 mile, a half mile for us being going to the church to vote. So that's our concern, is the mileage that older people plus people that work getting in and having to go that distance to vote. It would be a problem for them to get home and go that distance to vote. So please consider where we live and the age of a lot of our voters. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Roy Benefield.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Roy Benefield. I live in Martin, Georgia. I'm voting precinct is Gumlock. And looking at the last election, we've only had 1,100 people vote. Royston had 1077, Carnival had 9. Gumlock was fourth at 859 voters. And when you start talking about the same thing, I've got to say the same thing this gentleman said. You're talking about $4 a gallon of gas or up, and whose money are you saving? I was told that you're trying to save money for who? It's not us, obviously, because we're the ones that's going to have to pay more and more and more just to go vote or stay home. I would suspect that when you have 7,757 people voted in the last election, if you throw in $3 a piece, you know, you have $21,000 right there. So reconsider. 4 may not be the proper thing. I think 13 is not right because it's pretty obvious when you've got 2 precincts in one location, that's not a wise use of your money. You could do a lot better, I think, in not making us go so far to vote by rethinking your districts and bringing it in some more and having a few more districts than just the 4 or just the 1. You got to know that ballots, everybody here and the people that wanted to vote called and said, send me a absentee ballot, you'd not get your elections done in 1 day. And you'd not save no money because it takes you about $1.50 for each one of those things you send out and get back and have to fool with it. Reconsider, please.
All right. Thank you very much. Ray. I cannot read your last name.
I guess that's me.
249 Old Fish Pond Road.
I guess that's me. My name's Ray Morgan. I'm the mayor of Cannon, Georgia. And I'm here to tell you, we really displeased. What in the world would make y'all think we'd want to drive 10 or 12 miles to Carnival to vote? And we got a lot of old folks. Did y'all even know that Cannon's in Franklin County? It's never mentioned. And I don't think anybody on this board is got any concern for Cannon. I just love to say, you know, I think our precinct ought to stay in Cannon. It's been there for years and years. And I think we're just as good as anybody in Franklin County. And we pay taxes. If you don't believe it, you ask Bobby Martin. He don't mind sending us a tax bill. So, you know, we'd like to keep our precinct. I could say a lot more, but y'all got them rules a lot in y'all's favor, and I better not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Michael Malia.
My name's Michael Milligan. I live in the Gunnels District, this is Bold Spring. For the last 13 years, I've been very fortunate enough to be able to walk across my road and vote at the church. And where I live, and where y'all got me voting now, is about 18 miles. Why can I not vote in Carnesville? Not on the paper, because I want to do it on that day in case somebody does something stupid between now and then. And I can change my vote when I get ready to mash that button. Because it's going to be 18 miles for me to drive to Allen's, then back home, where I could drive to Carnesville, which is 9 because I measured it on the way here. That's what I'm concerned about. And there's a lot of elderly people, and I'm speaking up for the Williamses, Miss Sybil there, Gary, and Mr. Bridges. We all live in that area, and we would all have to travel that far, and that's ridiculous. If we're gonna vote anywhere, change it to where it's closer for us to vote instead of further away. Somebody needs to redraw that and not worry about where the commissioners are, because a lot of us don't even consider them part of our district anyway, because one of them may live somewhere else. You know, when I'm voting for somebody, I'm not voting for an individual. I'm voting for, or who the person is in that district. I'm voting for who I think is going to do the best job.
Okay, thank you very much. Janet Hodgson.
Talking about money and the worry of spending too much money. I don't know what the regulations are for the early voting, but they're open how many days ahead of time?
21 days by law.
And how much money do you spend on personnel for the 21 days?
We usually have 3 full-time employees during the
That
day.
adds up.
It does, but by law,
Why
we
can
have
you not, if people want to vote early, they can get an absentee ballot, but we can keep our voting places.
I understand. By law, we have to have 21 days of voting.
By law, you have to
By
have it.
law, yes ma'am.
That hurts.
It
That
does.
can hurt a lot of counties.
It does.
And there's no way you can appeal it, or
That would be something voters could try to appeal themselves, but by law, I have to follow what the Secretary of State says for.
But I know we do have a lot of older people, and it's harder for them to even find someone to come and pick them up and take them even to a closer voting place. And you take it, like we'd be going, William, how far did you say, 11 miles?
What way?
If we voted in Martin?
Like Michael said, 18.
18 miles. I mean, that's a lot. And you have people living on small incomes, and that really adds up the gasoline. It's going to get worse and worse. So we really need to rethink this. It's just, I think it's too much to ask of some of the people. And we do pay our taxes. If you don't, you come get us. Don't you?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Gabe Martin.
My name is Gabe Martin. I live on Bold Springs Road, and I vote in the Douglas district. I want to thank you for trying to do something here that I think seriously needs to be done. Whether you have exactly the right plan or whether you need to fine-tune it, I don't know. But anything you come up with, I think is going to be better than what we have now. Because I go to vote in my precinct, there's 2 voting districts in one room, side by side. Now To me, I think that's the biggest waste that we could ever have, is to have 8 people when we could only have 4. You know, you could have combined those districts a number of years ago and saved that money. But I'm going to be at odds with all of my neighbors that are here because I think there's plenty of opportunity for everybody that wants to vote. I remember when I was a very young boy, I rode with my Uncle Pierce in a wagon pulled by mules to the voting place so we could vote. We don't have to do that anymore. We can get to the voting place. I have voted in my precinct. I have voted absentee. I have voted early voting. I haven't, the last election I missed was 1980 when Herman Helmich got beat. And I forgot about that one, and I wouldn't have missed it. But anybody that wants to vote can. My mother will be 90 years old in 2 more months. She votes every election because you mail her a ballot. She votes that ballot. She has not missed a vote. So I'm not saying that this plan that you propose is perfect or it couldn't be tweaked a little. I do have some sympathy from the gentleman from Cannon because they have a lot of voters over there and it is a long way. But I could come to Carnesville, I could go to Franklin Springs or wherever I'm going to have to go and I will vote. But whatever you do, don't just let this die. Do something.
All right, thank you very much. David Jordan.
I'm David Jordan, Mayor of Royston. First of all, I want to say thank you for giving the public an opportunity to come in and speak. That's very important that we have a chance to express our concerns. I feel for you in the situation. You guys are, I know you're under a lot of pressure to cut some budget. I understand this is an issue that has come up a couple of years ago as well to try to reduce some expenses. We all in government are trying to do that in many different ways. But I want you to look at the statute and look at the word specifically convenience. It talks about changing voting districts, precincts specifically for convenience. I think everybody here has expressed already some concerns with convenience, but not only convenience, but hardship. I mean, this could impose hardship on folks. So I don't know that I can add to what's already been said. I mean, in Royston, we have an elderly population. We have a population that can be easily disenfranchised if they're not allowed a convenient place close by. And believe me, 3 miles for some can be an inconvenience, especially when they have to beg to get transportation. We have in the past had to get buses, church buses to bring people out. I don't know if we can do that and bring them, certain places now. And this is a hardship throughout the county. But I ask that you look at that, consider that. I think we have someone. Are you going to speak for the Housing Authority? You're not listening. We have a significant amount of government housing, and this could be a real problem for these folks. They don't have cars. They have to beg to get over there. Many of them walk. I mean, I know, I've seen it in the past, and we see that when it rains. There's a low turnout. So I ask you to consider that, please, when you make a decision. It seems like to me, looking at, say, Hart County, they have 7 precincts they vote in. I can understand 13 seems like a lot, but 4 seems like too few. I hope you guys can come up with a happy medium here and leave some convenience at the same time that you try to cut the budget on this. So please consider that as you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Larry Bowen.
I'll just stand up right here.
That's good.
I'm Larry Bowen. I live at 444 Franklin Springs Street, Royston, Georgia, and I'm on the city council. And I just really just want to say that I agree with what our mayor said, and I agree something needs to be done, and I appreciate the work y'all have done because I can tell by what y'all put up that there's a lot of hard work went into that. And we appreciate that. But like David said, there's a lot of people going to be inconvenienced in this. And so I just hope that y'all take another look at this and study it real good. And And you know, we really want to keep ours in Royston, and I think, after Tess came down and looked, she seen that, what was being told was incorrect. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd. Donna Floyd?
I'll just stand here, I want the situation getting around. And I really didn't intend to speak, but I have a couple of thoughts. Political. I see politicization in this. And I just wonder the situation with at least two of the towns that are gonna still have precincts that normally absorb a lot of Franklin County taxpayers' money. Consider that already.
All right, thank you, sir.
That's the long and con, of course.
David Jordan?
We switched.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, my name is Keith Turner, I'm a council member with the city of Royston, and Dave and I switched, I got here prior to him, and I wanted him to speak first.
I was getting ready to say it.
We gotta watch these politicians. But I do echo what Chris said from our mayor and also our council member that, again, like I said, we don't want to make it an inconvenience. I do understand the job that you guys are faced with. But with Royston, I think Tessa come down and met with our city manager, and we have adequate space right now for parking. We have approximately 75 parking spaces right now, and can be up to 250. We have a 4,500 square foot facility. Once our new library is going to be completed and our new city hall is going to be constructed, we have plenty of meeting space there. And I did have one question when I was looking at the proposed on the presentation Tessa did with Allen United Methodist Church. Has that been a contingency plan in the event of there's a funeral or anything to be considered of an alternate place? And so, I mean, I don't know if all this stuff has been looked at or talked about or thought through, because, you know, if something like that were to happen, you'd have to have a contingency place. So, I just like to say, you guys spend a little more time with this right here, and please do not disenfranchise the voters of this county.
Dale Fowler?
Okay, I live in Carnesville, and I really just wanted to have my name on the ballot in case somebody didn't say something that I thought needed to be said, but I think Mr. Gabe, he touched on everything that I felt, and so did Mayor Jordan. So I really don't have anything to say except that Allen's Methodist, they don't vote in the church, they vote in the community center. So I don't know if that'd be a conflict or not, but I don't have anything else to add other than what they said.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
I guess I'll just shoot some people. I'm Gary Hall. I'm also from Bold Springs community. Now, this decision to do this, is it y'all's decision or Tessa's decision?
It's the board's decision.
It's the board's decision. I understand y'all want to save some money, but I'm with the first gentleman that spoke. It'll cost more money for the taxpayers in gas than y'all will save. Now, y'all will get taxes on that gas, so you'll make some money back there. But it's not in the best interest of the people. Also, we don't vote for commissioners, but they run by county, by district. But we vote the whole county wide. It's just, the way they got it broke up is probably comparable to what the Board of Education done on redistricting the school, hauling kids from Carver to Royston that live within 2 miles of school. I mean, it's that comparable that I would put it to. And I've heard a lot of people say they would not drive. I heard it was 14 miles to the nearest place, but we're 18 miles away. It don't make sense. I mean, to me, it don't make sense at all. I believe in tweaking it, just like someone said there was 2. I asked them down there with Bold Springs. They could have cut down one set of poll workers, $500 savings. I understand that. That's a good thing to do. And I think it could be done in probably 3 or 4 or 5 places in the county, and nobody has to drive too far, but everybody stays kind of happy. I mean, I don't think that it should be pushed way out. It's ridiculous like this. I mean, That's just my opinion of it, and I think everybody here made some good points on a lot of different areas. But I don't understand where the savings is either on mail-out balloting. The more you have, it don't save, I don't see where that saves money, because you got poll workers that you pay, it don't matter how many come to the polls to vote. But to me, the more mail-out votes you had, that's more of an expense instead of a savings. I don't understand where that's a savings, because on the day of the balloting, you got the people already paid to work, it don't matter how many come. So more mail-out balloting, to me, that's a loss instead of a savings. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. But that's all I got to say. I just hope y'all can tweak it up and come up with something a whole lot more common sense.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, that's what we're trying to do. That's the reason we wanted to have this meeting, is to get some input. There's nothing final. Whatever we come up with has to be submitted to the Department of Justice. What we want to try to do is get the input, do the tweaking that we need to do to try to serve the different interests. But the purpose of what the board tried to do is just to use the assets of the county in the most efficient method possible. And what we're going to do after this meeting is go back and meet, take into consideration what people said here tonight. As Tess pointed out, in Royston, some of those decisions were made based on a situation that's in flux right now and is changing. And you know, she's been assured, and it appears that by the next election that facility would be an appropriate place to have the precinct. There's no final decision on that as it stands right now. But we want to thank everybody for being here, thank everybody for participating, and what we're going to try to do is go back and come up with a plan that takes into consideration y'all's comments. Is there anything else?
I'd like to ask, excuse me, but not, I don't think as well as I used to. The lady that's doing this show, where do you live?
Where do I live?
Yes, ma'am.
I live in Poetry, yeah.
Tax money out of the county.
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Of course it does.
On the one y'all showed where the people what different counties have lowered the number.
Yes.
Do y'all have figures as to what percent that changed the number of people that voted or not? Do y'all have that information?
We've got some information on that.
I do have some information. Not all counties responded to my question on that. The ones that did respond, they showed no reduction in voters, but they did show a shift from election day to advance voting.
Are there any other questions?
Can I add one other thing?
Yes.
Slipped my mind. In looking at those different counties, please consider the geography as well. A lot of those counties have one central city in the middle of the county, and the rest of the county is very, very mountainous.
No, but that's what Franklin County has faced from the beginning of time. Is different, population centers as opposed to one central town. It's between the schools and consolidation of schools and money for schools and precincts. I mean, that's a problem that we've got to face.
Please do consider that a lot of those may not be the same model that we would follow, and it looks good, but thank you.
They definitely not smarter in other counties than we are.
Well, the more cities, don't the more towns bring in more tax money?
Pardon?
Doesn't the more cities in an area bring in more tax money? Raven County, for instance.
I don't know where he is. I'm not sure exactly the context of your question.
More people live in a given area, Royston, Carnesville,
Bring
Cannon.
in
They not
revenue for
bring
the
in
city.
more tax money? That's not that hard.
I'd like to say,
The cities get tax money because
People pay taxes.
that's correct.
I pay taxes.
Everybody
I
does.
pay y'all.
I'd like to say not, just not forget the city of Cannon. I know it's never brought up. Y'all never spoken. but I just want you to remember when you're doing your figure, that Cannon is in Franklin County.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Will there be any more public meetings other than this one on this?
There would not be another public hearing on this. If there are changes made, you know, there would be a presentation to the Board of Commissioners.
Will there be a public meeting that we can attend?
The Board of Commissioners.
Well, commissioners can, yeah, but we won't be able to, well, we can't.
I think you get on the agenda.
All right, while y'all remembering Cannon, y'all remember Bold Springs, cause
Yes.
there's people that live 4 or 5 miles the other side of us. I mean, it's kind of an oddball little place over there, and it keeps way over in there.
Yes, sir.
It shoots all the way over on Carson Road, which is actually in Banks County. There's part of Franklin County over in there.
So we're kind of a little bit odd over there, I guess. They'll keep us a little odd precinct over there somewhere.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and close this meeting. Once again, thank you for coming. We appreciate your comments and your input.
Why didn't you